378 Regiment of the 95th Division. He was with the 95th Division until the division was deactivated. After the war, he obtained a Bachelor's of Science in Medical or Mechanical Engineering at the University of Wisconsin in 1950. Most of his working years was involved in the design, development, and manufacture of paper mill machinery in Appleton, Wisconsin. He traveled extensively as the company worked for providing machinery all over the world. He was happily married for 60 years to Jackie. She passed away almost 7 years ago. They had 3 daughters, Anne, Mary, and Helen. Please give me a round of applause and a warm welcome to Paul.
I guess you already been told that I was in the 9th platoon, and our major battles were in the Maginot Line, consisting of a series of forts built by the French about the time of World War I. In time, we had attacked the German-built Siegfried Line forts about 30 miles to the east. We were on the offense most of the time, but pulled back and went on defense in December during the Battle of the Bulge. I was a private. General Patton's lowest rank. I went to the Veterans Day program at the Lutheran High School this morning, and they had great speakers. An outstanding band. Sorry to tell you, but there will not be a great speaker here today. It will be me. Having never been anything more than a private and not an accomplished speaker, you may want to leave, but cheer up. I have given a speech before. My grandson Matt is the band leader for a grade in high school up north. Every year he puts on a Veterans Day program. In 2016, he asked me, "Grandpa, speak." Several hundred kids, parents, the VFW, the Legion, filled the gym. Bands played, the chorus sang, flags were posted by, and Matt blew the taps. The bed sheet was hung up in the middle of the gym for my PowerPoint presentation. I gave my speech and no one left. So no one could leave. The doors were all monitored. Lock the doors. Okay, on October 16th, I took my first trip with Touchmark. We went to Door County, we ate at L. Johnson, and by chance I sat at the table with Kathleen Butler. I told her that I had a PowerPoint presentation about Veterans Day that I gave at the high school in 2016 and wouldn't mind giving it again. Oh. She did not have anything planned for that day, so here I am. Let's now. Paper stuck together. Well, this is something I think we all know. Fighting ceased between the Allied nations and Germany in 1918 on the 11th hour, 11th day in the 11th month. This was regarded as the end of the war, to end all wars, I guess you all could know how that worked out. So, I think I'll jump right into this because it was just exactly to the day that 75 years ago, our division was ordered to capture the city of Metz. This was a city of about 70,000 people located on the east bank of the Moselle River. The Moselle River, running north and south, was the main obstacle preventing us from capturing the city of Metz. Driving east. At the time, the river was in flood stage and was about a mile wide in some places. Under the cover of smoke being directed by tracer bullets, Company F and Company E crossed the river at Thionville with 10 manned assault boats and attacked Fort Yost. A Bailey Bridge was then built, and the anti-tank company, my company, put 3 guns over the bridge. I don't know if you know what a Bailey Bridge is. It's a bridge built in sections that clamp together. The widest one at the time was about 160 feet long. They were able to build one 200 feet long to make this crossing. But anyway, they got across on these 10-man assault boats. The river was swift. Some of the boats went downstream and they were captured. Some of them sank, and some of the people worried that they can't swim. But with all the stuff they had on them, it would make no difference if you could swim or not. So there was quite a loss of life, but basically, E Company and F Company didn't make this crossing. But now, I'm just bringing this point up. This was exactly 75 years ago to the day. And that's where we were. But I'll get back and getting more things in order here. So, went the wrong way, sorry. How many of you know who Stephen Ambrose is? I think a lot of us do, because if you read anything about the war, you know about him. But if you don't know, he was raised in Whitewater, Wisconsin, educated at the University of Wisconsin. He was a professor, and he was teaching in New Orleans. And he was the founder of the World War II Museum. He's one of the founders in New Orleans. If you've ever been down there, it's a great museum. Done a beautiful job there. I've been there a couple times. But what he said, I just kind of want to repeat, and you can read it probably, but I think it's of interest to me. 1945 was the worst year in human history. More people were killed violently, more houses burned, more buildings destroyed, and more high explosives set off in 1945 than in any other year. Indeed, more people were killed in that year than in all previous 5 years. I kind of question 45. I think 1944 was pretty close to being the same thing. I think maybe at this time it would be of interest to compare wars just based on casualties. I know Civil War is not much of a comparison, But I think you look at the total, 681,000 casualties. But World War I, 257,000. But the one I'm targeting on today is World War II. 293,000 deaths, 671,000 wounded, for a total of almost 1 million people. But I was in Europe, and I just want to point out that was 71% of casualties in the total for World War II. My division, the 95th, we had 1,450 deaths, 6,850 wounded, for a total of 8,300. The division strength is 14,000, so you can see a total of 8,000 is a pretty high percentage of the total people in a division. But you have to remember, replacements were brought in. I just asked somebody how many were the total, and doesn't seem to be an available record of that. But there were some companies that, a company is about 180 to 150 people. There was one company, I Company especially, they had 92 deaths, 170 wounded, or a total of 263, which is a pretty big percentage of that 182. In 1942 to 45, 630 men were in that group. During the war, there were many generals. I guess the one that I always thought the most of was Omar Bradley. He was right under General Eisenhower. He was over the top of the general that I was in. But something here I want to point out to you, because of the feelings that the infantry and the riflemen have. It says, the rifleman fights without promise of either reward or relief. Behind every river there's another hill, and behold that hill another river. After weeks or months on a line, only a wound can offer him the comfort, safety, shelter, and a bed. Those who are left to fight on, evading death, but knowing that with each day of evasion, they have exhausted one more chance of survival. Sooner or later, unless victory comes, the chase must end on a litter or in the grave. So I'm pointing this out is kind of the feelings that a rifleman or a frontline has. Sooner or later, unless there's victory, you're going to wind up on a litter or in the grave. This is just a picture when I went into the service. And the anti-tank company is pictured here right before we left for Europe. My training was a little different than many, wherein many people went to a basic training system just for basic training. What they did with me and a bunch of other ASTP guys, we were trained by the people who we would then be staying with the rest of the war. In August, we sailed out on the Mariposa, about 6,000 of us aboard, and it was a luxury liner, but not the way it was being used by us. It was about bunks about 4 high, and people were getting sick, and It wasn't the greatest cruise you ever been on. In general, travel, this is a very difficult map to look at. I probably should have done a little better in finding one, but we landed at Normandy Beach. Well, this after we went to England, of course, and we stayed there for a while and boarded a Liberty ship crossing English Channel. And in September, we were in Normandy Beach in France, sleeping, well, not sleeping, but in pup tents. That's where each guy has part of the shelter half. And you put them together and you got a pup tent, you throw a blanket on the ground, and that's where you deal with that. In October, we were on the front lines. We of course passed through Verdun. That's a famous World War I place. We got stuck in the mud, had to pull ourselves out of the woods with a cable. But most of the line company guys, they got to the front line on cars known as 40-8. These were box cars that would hold 40 people or 8 mules. And it took them weeks to get from Normandy or Paris area to the front lines. And the front line at that time consisted of the Moselle River again. There was one place to cross the river, and that was called the Pagny Bridgehead. And it was the only crossing on the river because all the other bridges had been blown. And the 5th Division made the crossing. They lost so many people, they practically did not exist, it was felt. We replaced the 5th Division people, and we were taking artillery from 3 sides, and a lot of it. First day, one of our men was killed, and 4 or 5 wounded, so that was quite the start. His name was Catwit from Kenosha. And, well, I could tell you a little bit how it affected the family, but after the telegram, his mother would never believe it, and she went to her dying days thinking that he was lost and someday he would come home. But they did ship his body back. Our main assault was in the Metz area, a little hard to see in the bottom left there. And I think I've already showed you how the river was crossed at that area. But between November 8th and 17th, 1944, we assaulted Metz. On November 21st, Metz was liberated. And I have to show you, I got a combat infantry badge, and you know, we used to wear it. You know why? It would tell other people we weren't some Green Hornet replacement. So anyway, that was kind of a pride of ours. That's the only thing we wore, but it was to tell other people we had 30 days. At that time, you had to have 30 days in combat before you would get the badge. I think that changed a lot later. After that, in December, we moved east to, as you can see, Saarlouter. This was an area in what's called the Siegfried Line. That was a very sophisticated line built by the Germans, and very, very difficult problems in that area. Let me tell you a little bit about what we had for guns. Here's the 57 millimeter anti-tank gun that we had, I think, 9 of them. And it's towed behind the truck. And it's not really, I thought it was from other wars. It's too small to take a tank out. But the big thing about it is how do you deal with it? You can pull it behind the truck, and if you want to aim it, you want to use it, you have to turn it around, spread some trails, and then you can move it side by side with your shoulder. And for elevation, you had a hand crank. So anyway, when the thing went up, it would about take the skin off your neck. And the trails would dig into the ground, and as you kept shooting, it would keep digging in deeper. Pretty soon you had to shovel them out. So anyway, it was the kind of equipment we had, but that's all it was. You know, there's a lot of things we had to put up with. But in December, we were up to, let's see. I think I want to tell you more about what I was involved in anti-tank. Well, I was in the mine platoon. This gives you an idea what a platoon is like. This was actually taken, I believe, in France. There's the name, but the main reason for the picture is to tell you, I carried an M1, I had a helmet, we had a full belt of ammunition, canteen, a lot of stuff hanging on you. And the next picture shows what we did. We looked for mines using a mine detector, very early type a mine detector, difficult to use. This is Scott. He later got shot in the stomach. I don't know if he ever survived or not, but give you a little more detail, which you probably would like to know more about in case you ever want to do this. One man carries this radio equipment. It's in a big tin box on the side, and he sweeps. The second guy has both guns, and he uses his bayonet to search for the mine. The picture of the mine is shown on the right. That was a very common mine used by the Germans called the Tower Mine. It weighed, I think it's around 10 pounds, the explosive in there. So anyway, we have kind of clumsy bunch of equipment. But one of the things about it is, how are we going to use these things? So much of the time we found out we could go out at night and be very quiet. So we would, it has a little speaker you wear on your shoulder. I can't see it there. But we had to turn that off. And so we looked at this fluorescent dye. So that allowed us to go out at night and look for mines. The other thing about mines, looking for mines, you want to get them before they attacked. You know, cars and trucks, tanks, they don't want to go down the road unless somebody checked for mines. Well, so how do we do that? The most effective way was to go out at night. And we go out at midnight and we go right on through. We did find many of them, and when we found one, we would tie a rope to a little handle on there, get down, pull it. In all the mines that we did pull out of the road, only one ever went off, so we had pretty good success there. The other thing about it is, if we wanted to really ensure the safety of these roads, we would have to go out before the attack. And we got in a lot of trouble with that. We got pinned down. I'll tell you one instance. I won't go any further than that because we only got an hour and a half here, I think, something like that. Anyway, no, I'm just kidding. But I'll tell you one thing that happened. The troops were lined up behind a hill, and they were going to attack around noon. And we went out in the morning. We went up to the crest of the hill, and we saw an artillery spotter. And we asked him, "Did you see anything out there?" No, he didn't see anything. So we, with our mine detectors, we went down over a flat plain to sweep for mines. We walked right into a group of Germans coming down the road, 20 or 30 of them. And so here we were, way out, nowhere to hide. And then all of a sudden, rockets started coming our way and they started shooting at us. Well, anyway, we had to run. So here I am, 2 guns, one on each side, the helmet, and as they kept firing these rockets, I could hear them go off. And every time I hit the ground, the 2 guns would come off my shoulder. The helmet would roll away. We never used chin straps. It was, some people felt that was not the thing to do. Anyway, so I didn't think I was making too much headway, so I left one of the guns laying there, and I got back, and so here's 2 of us only had 1 gun. So I went back to aid station and got a gun from somebody that was wounded, and he wasn't going to go back into service, so I could take his gun. So then the line companies came up. Well, right after that, then after we seen these people, I got a hold of the artillery people. They put a tremendous barrage of artillery in that area, just like lighted up the sky. It was like fireworks. Anyway, so then the line companies moved ahead, and I looked for that gun, couldn't find it. Somebody else had picked it up. But the interesting thing about it, so when I turned my gun in after the war, it did not have the right serial number on it for me. So I had to tell them this story, and they probably thought it was a lot of bullshit, but anyway, I never got charged for the gun. Well, it's a little side story, but there's a lot of stories. You know, when you're on line for 3 months in the front lines, there's a lot of things happen. And one of the comments of where we got in big trouble, but when we tried to go out before the attack, we most of the time just got pinned down. You just couldn't go out there and do that. But at night time, we did better. And then there were times that roads were used and there were mines in them. One place, a farmer came down the road with horses and they set them off. And then after that happened, we found out that there were 10 more mines in the road, and some of the guys had gone through there on their Jeeps, and they were really sweating when they heard later that they were there. So mines were a big problem, but not maybe like today, but it was. This gives you an idea of how we traveled. Through those 3 months, we pretty much had one set of clothing and a backpack, much as you see here. So we didn't have showers. I believe we had in those 3 months' time 1 or 2 showers. And the other thing, if you look at these shoes, these there was a real big chance of getting trench foot because these are leather shoes and we had no other boots or we did not have gear for the winter season. But what you see here is pretty much all we had to travel several months in the winter time. Another picture to show you, just because it tells you how we are dressed. This was taken in December, and these are all guys from my company. They went to look at this fort, and if you look at the top of the fort, you'll see that's pretty much all concrete, so airplanes tried to drop bombs in these forts, but it was practically no success. They just tried it, it never worked. They give up on it. So, and a lot of people lost their lives trying to capture this thing, but later it was determined just bypassing. After taking meds and going up to the Siegfried line, there was a Siegfried line. It was a terrible situation. There was just a lot of pillboxes. They were very modern types, and one of them covered the other. And we pretty much were at a standstill there. And because of the Battle of the Bulge, we pulled back. And when the Bulge was finally settled, we had gone down there, but we were not of much help. But I did get a chance to see the damage that was done. And at that time, Germans were dressed in American uniforms, and we were pretty wary of who we were talking to much of the time. But our only contribution was that there were many Germans who finally wound up in the woods, and getting them out of there was about all we did. We moved north to the Ham Railroad yards, and we had a chance then to do different things. We're no longer looking for mines, but we were standing guard duty. And what happened here, the Ham Railroad yards, there was a number of boxcars that were being looted by both the Germans and the Russian prisoners that were let loose. And here we were, probably a squad or two guys in a huge railroad yard trying to prevent looting. So what we were doing is shooting, not to hit anybody, but just to scare them off. And it wasn't too successful. Two guys got shot, two Russians. They had to take them away. But I don't know who did that. But I know I never tried to shoot anybody. Believe me. Anyway. We moved on to Dortmund. That was a city, 500,000 people lived in Dortmund before the war. They had been hit by 90 air raids. So our job was, because of, again, safety, our job was to guard certain areas. A lot of guys, the best job some of them guys got was guarding a brewery. You can imagine what happened there. Well, they all got pretty drunk, but anyway, I didn't draw the right straw. I was there guarding the bank. And the bank, of course, was leveled, and you could go down into the ground, and that's where the vault was. And I remember sleeping on top of the teller's counter. Well, here's our record, for the 95th Division. We had 145 total combat days. 105 were consecutive, in other words, we're on the front line full time, always under artillery fire or pretty bad conditions. I think I already told you, we had 8,000, but some of the numbers here are kind of questionable because it makes us look pretty good, I guess. We had 47,000 opposing Germans were knocked out, but now the count for prisoners was pretty good. We had 31,000 prisoners and 15,000 who were killed or wounded on the German side. So anyway, these numbers could be somewhat questionable, but it gives you some idea of what happened. But you have to remember, many of the Germans that we took were very young people, very old. You know, it just they just used everybody. And I myself, many times when we went over the fields, they would come running to us with their hands up. And in our case, we just tell them, keep going, you know. So here we are in May 1945, the war is over. We got a chance to wash our clothes. So here's a farmhouse that we stayed in. We slept in the living room, on the floor, of course. You have to remember, we always slept on the floor everywhere we went. And in the winter time, to keep warm, the only thing we had to keep from freezing to death was, let's say, a kitchen stove we found in the house or something like that. And then too, if you're a miserable private, you have to stand guard 2 hours every 4 hours every night. And you stand out in the cold. And so we did not have any clothing that would really be good for anything like that. The gloves we had were very minimal. The Germans had mittens, and I finally took some mittens off a dead German, and I wore those. But that's all we had. The other thing too is we didn't have socks, you know, and you'd go to ask somebody, can I get some socks? Well, we don't have any. Of course, that got us pretty upset. We washed our socks out in our helmet. That comes apart. I can show you that. It's kind of a pot that you can wash in. But that was a big thing. If you didn't keep your feet dry and clean, you're not going to be around very long. And with your hands got so doggone cold, like it is here. You know, you can't stand outside with the little skinny gloves on, and you can't operate your rifle. You know, so it was a bad situation from the standpoint of just being cold all the time. Well, I'm just trying to give you a little idea. But anyway, it's a very difficult picture